Don't move. Don't speak. Just sit tight. Smoke rose from the broken ground. Fires burned around what used to be a quiet forest. Now it was a battlefield. Metal pieces of fallen ships lay everywhere, glowing hot. Dead machines. Dead soldiers. In the middle of this ruin, a small escape pod had crashed. Its door was half open, sparks flying out. Inside, something moved. A child. A human child. He looked no older than 6. His little body shook. His face was covered in dirt, and a line of blood ran down his forehead. He tried to speak but couldn't. His lips moved, but no sound came. He looked around with wide, scared eyes. A soft voice came through a broken speaker in the pod. "Sit tight, little one. Human warship incoming. Do not move, do not speak. Just sit tight." The message repeated every few minutes, a calm voice, maybe from Earth, but Earth was far away now. This was planet Yora 6, and the child was in danger. Outside, the ground shook again. Heavy footsteps. Not human. Solara, a tall alien woman in silver armor, walked through the smoke. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes glowing green. She was not a soldier. She was a medic. Her job was to save lives, but not human lives. She stopped when she saw the escape pod. Her long fingers brushed aside debris. Then she saw the small shape inside. A human? Here? She stepped closer, her heart pounding. The stories she had heard about humans were mixed. Some said they were monsters, some said they were weak, but this child looked fragile. Lost. The voice spoke again from the speaker. "Sit tight, little one. Human warship incoming. Do not move." Solara's eyes narrowed. A beacon. A signal. That pod was calling a human warship. If it arrived and saw her here, she could die. Her people would call her a traitor. And yet, she knelt down beside the pod. The child looked up at her, scared. But he didn't cry, he didn't scream. "Can you hear me?" she asked softly. The child didn't answer, but he held something out, a small silver pendant. It blinked with blue light. Solara touched it gently. A message appeared on the small screen. ID confirmed. Subject Orion 7. Vital signs weak. Emergency rescue en route. She pulled her hand, back fast. A rescue ship was coming. A human warship. The most feared kind. Their tech, their firepower. Deadly. Suddenly a loud voice rang in her ear. "Solara, report your location. You've gone off course. Are you near Sector 9? It was her command center. She pressed her communicator. "Yes, I'm checking the wreckage. No survivors here." A lie. She looked down at the child again. He was bleeding. He needed help. But if her people found her with him, they would kill her. If the humans arrived and saw her, they might shoot first. She had to decide. Help the child or save herself. She looked at the pendant one more time. Human tech. Simple, yet strong. Frau. Light blinked faster now. The warship was close. Then a new sound. Footsteps. Loud. Heavy. Soldiers. Alien ones. Her own. She panicked. She couldn't be seen. She quickly covered the pod with metal sheets and smoke dust, hiding it well. Then she stood in front of it, her back straight, trying to look calm. 3 soldiers walked into view. Black armor, red visors. Their weapons were raised. "Solara," one said. "What's here? You found something?" She shook her head. "Just wreckage. One of ours, maybe. Nothing alive." One soldier stepped closer. His eyes scanned the pod behind her. Too close. "We picked up a weak human signal," he said slowly. "It's around here." Solara didn't blink. "Old beacon, maybe a leftover. It's silent now." The soldier hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But keep your eyes open. If you see anything, human or otherwise, you know what to do." "I know," she said quietly. They turned and walked away. As soon as they were gone, Solara dropped to her knees. Her hands trembled. She pulled off part of her armor and used the soft lining to press on the child's wound. He winced, but didn't cry. Brave little thing, she looked at the sky. It had turned red, smoke and clouds. But she saw it. A silver light moving fast. The warship. "Don't move," she whispered to the child. "Don't speak. Just sit tight. Help is coming." She didn't know why she was doing this. She was supposed to hate humans, but she couldn't walk away. Not from this child. Not today. The last signal from Earth. The child was breathing softly now, his tiny chest rising and falling beneath the burned blanket Zalara had placed over him. She sat near the pod, her weapon by her side, eyes scanning the sky. She was no longer just a medic. Now she was a traitor to her kind, and a silent guardian of a child that didn't even know her name. Above, the wind shifted. Thunder rolled far away, but it wasn't a storm. It was engines. She stood up slowly, brushing dust off her armor. The smoke in the air made it hard to see, but she could feel it in her bones. Something powerful was coming. Her eyes dropped to the pendant again. It had stopped blinking. For a moment, she thought it was dead. Then suddenly it flared with light again and projected a soft blue message in the air. Evacuation response accepted. Human warship Talon in transit. ETA, 14 minutes. Hold. Position. Zalara felt her breath catch in her throat. 14 minutes. 14 minutes with alien scouts nearby. 14 minutes of keeping the child hidden. 14 minutes of betraying her oath, her duty, her entire world. She checked her communicator again. The channel was silent. But she knew her people would return. They always did. She looked down at the child. He was shivering, not from fear, now, but from cold. Her heart tightened. His skin was too soft, too pink, too human. He wouldn't survive out here, not even for another hour. The cold on this planet could kill even the strong, and yet this tiny child had lived through a crash. She whispered softly, "You are not weak? I don't know why they say you are." The child didn't respond. His eyes stayed closed, but his hand suddenly reached out, grabbing her finger gently. Zalara froze. She had been trained never to touch a human, never to connect with one. But now, she didn't pull away. Instead, she knelt beside him. She opened a small compartment in her armor and pulled out an injector. Inside was a basic med gel made for alien wounds, but it might help him. She hesitated, then injected it carefully into the child's shoulder. His breathing became a little stronger. Just then, her communicator crackled. "Zalara, enemy signal detected from your last known location. Do you require support?" She paused. If she answered, they might trace the child. If she stayed silent, they might think she was dead or captured. She pressed the button. "No enemies. Just old wreckage and false signals. I'm returning soon." Another lie. She turned off the channel before they could reply. Her heart was beating too fast now. Everything was spinning in her mind. Why was she doing this? Was it because of the silence in the child's eyes? The innocence? Or was it because her people, her leaders, had begun to sound more like conquerors than protectors? She didn't know anymore. But then she heard it, faint at first, then stronger, a sound in the sky, like metal wings cutting through the clouds, like thunder that refused to stop. She stood quickly and looked up. Between the gray smoke and orange dust she saw it, a long, thin silver streak moving fast toward the surface. The human warship, the Talon, and then her heart dropped. Something else was moving. From the east side of the ruins, 4 alien soldiers appeared, walking fast, weapons ready. They hadn't seen her yet, but they were moving straight toward the pod, and the child was still inside. She turned quickly. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "Don't move." She grabbed her weapon, not to shoot, but to defend if needed. As the soldiers got closer, she stepped into view. One of them raised his hand. "Zalara?" She nodded. "There's nothing here, just broken metal." But they weren't looking at her. They were looking at the pod behind her. One of them stepped forward. "That's human tech. Why didn't you report this?" Solara's mouth went dry. "Old pod," she said. "It's empty. I already scanned it." The soldier moved closer, still sending signals. "We traced it. That beacon is active." She blocked his way. "I disabled it. I'll finish it now." He raised a hand. "Step aside." She didn't move. He stared at her, then slowly said, "Is there a reason you're protecting a signal from the enemy?" The child inside made a small sound, barely a whisper, but all 4 soldiers heard it. The leader raised his weapon. What was that? Solara didn't think. She just moved. Her body turned and shielded the pod. Her weapon came up. "Leave. Now." They froze, their eyes wide. "You're protecting a human," one whispered. "I'm protecting a life," she replied. And then the sky screamed. The warship broke through the clouds like a falling star. Its guns glowed. Its power roared across the battlefield. Everyone stopped and looked up. The Talon had arrived, and war was about to begin again. Enemy within. The warship burned across the sky like a blade of fire. Its shadow passed over the battlefield, and for a moment, the air itself felt heavy. The ground trembled. Engines roared above, so loud that even the birds fell silent. Everyone stopped moving, even the alien soldiers aiming their guns at Solara. One of them whispered, "That's a human warship." "Here?" Solara didn't answer. Her body stood between them and the hidden pod. Her weapon was still raised. Her heart thundered inside her chest. She was surrounded. 4 of her own, trained warriors, ready to shoot. But she would not move. She had made her choice. Then the leader took a step forward. He lowered his gun slightly. "You're not thinking clearly, Solara. Give us the child. If you cooperate, we can make a report. Say you were confused. Say you were trying to capture him." She stared back. "He's injured. Barely alive." "He's human," the soldier barked. "They kill our kind without mercy. His people are monsters. Their warships wipe out entire colonies." Solara didn't blink. "He's just a child." The soldier's voice turned cold. "Then you're a traitor." The other 3 raised their weapons again. The pendant inside the pod blinked, fast, bright. It was sending out a distress signal. The warship above was getting the message. Solara knew the Talon would descend. But if it saw her pointing a weapon at her own people, it might attack her too. She was trapped between enemies, one from outside and one from within. Suddenly, the child cried out from inside the pod, a soft, weak sound, barely a whimper, but it was enough. The soldiers stepped forward. Solara moved without thinking. She grabbed a flash grenade from her belt and threw it down. Boom! Blinding white light exploded in all directions. The soldiers screamed, covering their faces. Solara grabbed the child and sprinted through the smoke. Her legs burned. Her armor scraped against stone and metal. She ducked into the ruins of a broken wall. The child clung to her chest, barely conscious. "You're okay," she whispered. "I've got you. I've got you." Behind her, the soldiers recovered. They were shouting now, angry, afraid, calling for backup. Her communicator buzzed again. "Solara, you've gone dark. Report. Are you under attack?" She turned it off. There was no point in lying anymore. She was done choosing sides. She was only choosing life. The child stirred. His fingers clutched her armor. "Mama," he whispered. Solara froze. That one word, so small, so soft, it hit her harder than any blast. She wasn't his mother. She wasn't even human. But he didn't know that. He only knew safety, warmth, arms holding him, not hurting him. Tears pricked her eyes. Then a loud voice echoed through the sky. "This is human. Warship Talon. We are detecting allied life signs near distress signal. All units, hold your fire." A scan beam passed over the ruins. Red light, then green, then a soft tone. Unarmed human life form detected. Biological support required. They saw the child, but they didn't see her as a threat yet. She stood slowly, holding the child high with both arms. "He's here," she shouted. "He's alive. Please don't shoot." Another voice responded through the air. "Unknown alien detected. Identity unclear. Do not move." The sky opened above her. A dropship broke away from the main warship racing toward the ground. Solara turned and froze. One of her own soldiers had followed her through the rubble. Blood ran down his face. One eye shut. He pointed his weapon at her. "You're done," he spat. "You helped the enemy, you'll die with him." She stared him down. "Then shoot." The soldier's hand trembled, but before he could fire, blam! A pulse shot cracked through the air. The alien soldier dropped, his weapon flying from his hand. Solara spun around. Two armored human soldiers stepped through the dust, their guns still hot, their helmets shining. They had seen enough. "Lower the child," one of them ordered. She obeyed, gently placing the child on a soft patch of cloth. He groaned, but breathed. The other soldier scanned her. "Why did you protect him?" he asked, voice sharp. Solara raised her hand slowly. "Because he needed me." Silence. Then the soldier said quietly, "Then maybe you're not the enemy after all." Above, the Talon floated like a watchful god. Around them, the fires still burned. But something had changed. A war had brought them here, but one act of mercy had changed the rules. Warning from the sky. The sky above was quiet now. Too quiet. The smoke had begun to settle over the ruins. Wind carried the last flames across the ground, making broken metal whisper in the dust. The warship Talon hovered high, above, silent, massive, and watching. Below, Solara stood with her hands in the air. Her eyes didn't blink. Her heart didn't slow. She was surrounded by humans, but they hadn't shot her. Not yet. The child, still unconscious, was now being gently lifted by a human field medic. His tiny arm dangled over the edge of the stretcher, still holding her torn sleeve like it was safety itself. Solara's lips parted. She wanted to speak, to ask if he'd live. But she stayed silent. A tall human soldier stepped forward, removing his helmet. His face was sharp, his eyes cold. "Alien," he said, his voice like iron. "Who gave you orders to protect our child?" Solara met his gaze. "No one gave me orders. I broke them." The humans behind him shifted, unsure. "You expect us to believe that?" he asked. "You risked your life. You attacked your own people. For what?" Solara looked down at her hands. Blood. Smoke. Dirt, not all of it hers. "I didn't see a soldier," she whispered. "I saw a boy, alone in the fire." Silence. Then a new sound broke through the sky. A deep hum. A pulse. A warning. The humans tensed. Above them, Talon began to turn. Red lights flashed under its hull. Targeting systems were activating. Something was wrong. "Commander, we're picking up movement," a human shouted. "Southeast ridge, unknown energy reading." The commander's eyes sharpened. He turned toward the smoke. "Everyone, form up." Weapons were raised. Solara backed up slowly. Her eyes scanned the shadows. Then, she saw it. A large figure moving just behind the hill. Not alien. Not human. Something else. It moved like a beast, but it had armor. It made no sound as it walked. Solara's blood ran cold. She had seen these before. Black-class bioweapons, built by broken alliances. Monsters made to win wars no one wanted to fight. They didn't take prisoners. The human soldiers had no idea what was coming. "Don't shoot," she shouted. "That's not your enemy, it's everyone's." Too late. A pulse beam ripped across the ridge. The ground exploded. Two human soldiers were thrown through the air like leaves in a storm. The rest dropped, taking cover. The commander grabbed his comm. Talon, lock onto that target. It's not one of ours. The beast stepped into view. It was massive, 8 feet tall, shoulders like tanks. Its skin was made of armor plates fused with alien bone. Its eyes glowed red, a forgotten weapon, a leftover from an old war. It let out a deep growl, one that shook. The bones! Fall back, the commander shouted. Protect the child! But the medics were pinned. The child's stretcher was stuck under rubble, exposed. The monster roared and charged. Solara didn't think. Her body moved first. She sprinted toward the child, dodging burning metal and incoming blasts. Human soldiers shouted behind her, but she didn't stop. Not now. Not after coming this far. The beast swung its massive arm, sending dust and stone flying. She reached the stretcher and threw herself over the child's body, curling around him like a shield. No! The commander screamed. She'll be crushed! But, before the beast could strike, a blinding beam shot from the sky. Talon had fired. The blast hit the monster directly. The air split. Sound vanished. When it cleared, the beast was gone. Only smoking ash remained. Solara coughed, her arm still around the boy. The humans rushed in, shouting orders, calling medics, scanning for more threats. She looked up slowly. The commander stood over her. For a moment he said nothing. Then he reached out his hand. She blinked. A human hand, offered to her, not as an enemy, but as a comrade. When fire falls from the sky for a moment, the battlefield was silent. No gunfire, no screaming, just the soft crackling of flame, and the long, deep hum of the warship Talon as it hovered like a god in the sky. Solara's body trembled, not from fear, from exhaustion. Her arms were still wrapped around the small human child. His heartbeat was weak but steady. She had shielded him with her body from a weapon meant to end lives, not scare them. And yet, they were alive, because the humans had trusted her. She slowly sat up, blood dripping from a wound on her shoulder. Her armor was cracked. Her breath came in short gasps. The warship's rescue beam still glowed faintly above them. Then, she saw it. A burning object was falling from the sky. Not a weapon, not debris. A drop pod. It was round, black, and fast. Not human, not hers. The commander saw it too. Incoming. He roared. Soldiers dropped to the ground, grabbing cover. The pod slammed into the earth like a hammer, shaking the ground. Dirt and metal flew into the air. Smoke poured from its base. Solara covered the child again, but this time she dared to look. The hatch opened with a hiss, and from inside stepped another bioweapon. But this one was different. It was sleeker, taller, and it had symbols, ones she recognized, symbols of a long-dead science cult known for building weapons that learned. Machines that watched the battlefield and evolved mid-fight. This thing wasn't just strong, it was smart. The commander's voice came through the radio. Talon, prepare strike. Priority target. Fire in 10 seconds. The creature turned its head slowly. Its red eyes scanned the humans. Then, it looked straight at Solara. Not the child. Her. It recognized her. Somehow. She stood slowly, placing the child gently in the arms of a medic behind her. I'll draw it away, she said. The end. Commander blinked. What? It knows me. Look at its eyes. Indeed, the beast had not moved, not charged. It was watching her, waiting. Why you? The soldier asked. She didn't answer. She didn't know. But something in the beast's gaze told her this wasn't about the child anymore. This was personal. She stepped forward. The creature took a step toward her. The human soldiers raised their weapons again. No, she yelled. If you fire now, it'll learn your patterns. It copies what it sees. The commander cursed. So what do we do? She stared at the monster and whispered, we do what it doesn't expect. Without warning, she sprinted to the side, toward a ruined tank half buried in the dirt. The creature followed, not running, not attacking, studying. She climbed the wreckage, breathing hard. Behind her, the sky glowed orange again. Talon was charging another blast. She reached the top of the tank and stood tall. The creature stopped at the base. It tilted its head again, scanning. Then, it lunged. But just as it leapt upward, Zalara dropped a metal panel she had ripped loose from the tank, straight onto a pile of unstable fuel cells. Boom! The blast caught the creature midair. Fire and steel exploded upward, swallowing it in a storm of heat. The force threw Zalara backward, off the tank and into the dirt. Everything went white. For a long moment. She heard nothing. Then, voices, shouting. Running. Hands pulled her from the ground. She blinked. The commander was there, helping her up. Behind him, smoke rose from a crater. The creature was gone. Burned or buried, maybe both. You okay? The commander asked. She nodded. I'll live. He looked her in the eyes. You bought us time. You saved him. Zalara looked past him, toward the child. He was breathing again. His tiny hand reached for the sky, for light. A medic whispered, "He'll survive." Zalara's knees gave out. But this time someone caught her, a human soldier, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like someone who belonged, the final choice. The sun was rising over the battlefield. Its light turned the smoke into gold. The ruins looked quiet now, but the silence was only on the surface. Underneath, fear still lived. Zalara sat on the cold ground, her back resting against a broken engine core. Her shoulder was wrapped in a human bandage, stained red. The war was not over, but something had changed inside her. She wasn't a medic anymore. Not just, she was something else. A choice. Across from her, the human commander stood with a communicator in hand. He watched her quietly while messages poured in from the Talon, from orbit, from Earth. But all Zalara could hear was the boy's breathing. He lay nearby, under a thermal sheet, surrounded by medics. His cheeks were no longer pale. His chest rose, calmly. He had survived. Because of her. A voice broke the quiet. She must be handed over, said one of the human officers. She's still an alien, she could be a spy. The commander shook his head. She risked her life twice. She saved the child and helped destroy a bioweapon. But what if she's dangerous? Another said. What if she calls for reinforcements? Zalara didn't speak. She knew they were right to ask, but she also knew something they didn't. Her people were already coming. Her communicator, tucked deep in her armor, flashed with a red code. It was short, cold, final. Retrieve the child. Eliminate the traitor. She stared at it for a long time, then turned it off. She would not let them take the boy. Not after all this. She stood up slowly. Her legs hurt. Her side burned. But she was steady. I know what's coming, she said, quietly. My people are on the way. You don't have long. The commander looked at her, frowning. Why warn us? Because they won't come to rescue me, she replied. They'll come to erase what I did. The child stirred. She walked to him, kneeling gently. He opened his eyes, big, soft, trusting. Hey, she whispered. He reached out again, taking her hand. He didn't care about sides. She looked at the commander. You have ships. You can leave. He narrowed his eyes. What about you? She smiled weakly. I don't need to leave. A human soldier stepped forward. You're not going to survive if you stay. I know, she said, but I can slow them down. I can buy you time. The commander turned away, thinking hard. He didn't want to say it, but they all knew she was right. Suddenly, an explosion echoed in the distance. Scouts reported movement, dozens of signatures. Fast, coming in from all directions. Her people were here. The commander turned back. If we take you with us, will they stop chasing? She shook her head. No. They'll chase forever, unless I stay and make them believe. You already killed me. The officers looked shocked. You'd do that? One asked. Fake your own death? No, she said. It won't be fake. The child squeezed her hand tighter. Don't go. She bent down, touching his forehead with hers. I'm not going far, she whispered. I'll always be close when you look at the stars. She stood, walked to the commander, pulled something from her pocket, a data crystal. This holds a map of old battle tunnels. You'll need them. He took it. Why are you helping us? She looked at the child and smiled. Because once I saved a life, and it saved me back. The dropship engines fired up. The medics lifted the child aboard. The soldiers filed in. Solara didn't move. She turned to face the east, where the first enemy dropship landed. Her people, her past, her final fight. The human commander watched her. From the ship's door, he raised his hand in silent respect. She didn't wave back, but her eyes said everything. Tell Earth I wasn't the enemy. Then the doors closed. The ship lifted. And as fire once again began to fall from the sky, Solara ran toward the storm, alone by choice. Sit tight. Human warship has landed. The ship soared through the clouds, leaving fire behind. Inside, the child was safe, wrapped in a warm blanket, sleeping quietly in the arms of a medic. But not everyone had left. Not her. Solara had stayed behind. Far below, she moved through smoke and ash as enemy dropships landed like steel insects. Alien soldiers spread across the ruins, searching. They were not here to save. They were here to erase. One of the officers barked through the comms. Find the traitor. Find the child. Kill both. But they didn't find the child. They only found her. Standing alone on a shattered tower, burned armor clinging to her skin, her glowing eyes staring into theirs without fear. She had no backup, no plan, only time to give. They opened fire. Explosions shook the earth, but the dropship was already gone, flying toward the clouds, toward space, toward Earth. The boy didn't wake during the journey, but he whispered in his sleep, Don't go. 3 days later. Earth orbit. The Talon docked above Earth. Reporters, officers, and medics waited. Everyone wanted to see the rescued boy. The story had already spread. An alien had saved him. An enemy had protected him. People argued whether to believe it. But then the child stepped out of the ship. He held something in his hand, Solara's pendant. It blinked softly. Alive. A small signal, a memory, a message. One officer bent down. Where did you get that, son? The boy pointed to the stars. From her. The officer asked. Who was she? The child answered simply. My shield. 10 years later. Earth Academy of Peace A. Group of cadets sat in a quiet hall. Behind the speaker was a monument, tall, silver, shining like the warship Talon once did in the sky. A name was carved at the base. Solara. The speaker pointed to the monument. She was born among those who hated us, but she died protecting one of our own. He paused, then smiled gently. She wasn't human, but she acted more human than many of us. In the front row sat the boy, older now, in uniform. He wore a medal on his chest and a pendant around his neck. When others stood to clap, he didn't. He looked up at the monument and whispered, I sat tight, and you came. Closing narration, optional for YouTube ending scene. She crossed the lines of war. She chose life over orders, and in the fire of two worlds colliding, she became something more. Not a soldier, not a traitor, but a protector, and they will remember her every time a human warship lands.